Hi there, I'm Samantha Mahoney from OL Moed, and again it is my honor and privilege to be with you today. In previous segments, we've spoken about your personal book that God wrote for you, and we've also talked about how to discover what He wrote, how to engage with it so that that book becomes one with you, how to align yourself with it if you are out of alignment. There are actually many books referred to in Scripture. I don't know if you've ever paid attention to how many books are listed in Scripture, and I'm just going to give you a few that I found. There is the book of genealogy. So when it says this is the account of Adam, this is the account of Noah, this is the account of Abraham. So these are the books of genealogy. There is also the record or the book of the heavens and the earth. Stuff is written in these books about heaven and earth. There is the book with 7 seals. There is the book of life. There is the book of tears. There is the book of remembrance. There's the book of the law. There's the book of the covenant. There's the book of truth. All these books of heaven. Heaven is taking record of something. It just seems like there's a massive importance on these books. So I went to the Gospel of Google, as you do, to try and have a look at what is the importance of bookkeeping, record keeping. And this is what it says. It says, good record keeping can be your proof that you have made considered decisions and taken appropriate actions. Records become your protection if you are questioned and challenged. Without them, you are at risk. Good record keeping can not only protect you, but can support your organization in legal or other challenges. So let's pull one of those books out today to have a look at them, and let's look at the book of tears. This to me seems like the most random book ever. I mean, why would you have a book of tears? It's very odd that heaven would be keeping a record of tears. So let me just go to the verse that mentions this book, and it comes out of Psalm 56 verse 8, and it says this. Verse 8 says, you have taken account of my miseries. You've put my tears in your bottle. Are they not in your book? Verse 9 says, then my enemies will turn back on the day when I call. Record my misery, list my tears on your scroll. Are they not in your record? I want to sum up those two verses quickly. So first of all, it's saying all my miseries, all your miseries are noted by God. You're never alone. You're never going through something that He's not aware of. They are noted by God. The second thing it says is that the tears that you cry, and maybe when it comes out of that misery even, goes into, it says, your bottle. So He has, just imagine heaven's filing room, and it's got bottles and bottles, and you have a couple bottles in there, I'm sure. I do, with your name on it and all the tears that you've ever cried being stored in those bottles. The third thing that verse 8 says is that they are recorded in a book. Now verse 9 says, then, it uses that word then, when your miseries are recorded, your tears are cried, then my enemies turn back on the day when I call. So the enemies turning back is as a direct result of your tears that God is holding in a bottle. It also then, verse 9, reiterates what it's already said in verse 8. Why is it doing a double take of what it's already mentioned in verse 8? It says that for the second time, my misery is recorded, the tears are listed, and they're on record. So the fact that there's a double mention here shows you just how important you are to God, just how every detail of your life is taken note of by Him. Nothing about you takes Him by surprise. Are there any of you out there who cry a lot? Maybe you're moved by tragedy that you see happening in the world. Maybe you feel other people's pain. Maybe you're an intercessor, and as part of your travail and birthing things into the natural realm, tears is part of that process. Maybe you just feel deeply. You're an empath, and it has an effect on you in the form of tears. I am certainly one of those people who cries for anything and everything. Trust me, I cry at a sunset. That just moves me. If I'm watching a movie and I see the birthing of a baby, I feel the joy of the parents, and I will cry at the movie. If I witness a father bonding with his child and having such good fun, it's beautiful. It moves me. When I think of God's blessings in my life, I cry because they totally overwhelm me. This is This is the worst one for Grant. So whenever we're in a restaurant and I will scan the room, he hates it when I do this, and I scan the room and I look at each person. I'm going, I see you, I see you, I see you. But sometimes there are those people that just stand out to me, and I will begin to shamelessly cry. And Grant will tell me, you got to get this under control. You've got to stop this. These people are looking at us two sitting at this table and going, well, he can be the only reason why she's crying. That swine, what did he do to her? And meanwhile, he's like, oh, who got you now? Who are you looking at? And I've often wondered why I'm moved so easily by things that are external to myself. If you think about it, we are all self-centered beings. We're very concerned, and we should be, about the things that are happening to me, that are happening in my life. But very rarely do we step out of ourselves. And I have tried to exercise more control when I'm out in public, and I see the effect that it has on my husband. But then I see that one person, and there's no amount, that restraint, that can hold me back from releasing those tears. And I used to feel a bit bad about it. I used to feel self-conscious about it until I read Psalm 56. Other than there is more purpose to crying than just being a big softie. Now, I also began to understand from Hebraic understanding what the value of a tear is. And what they talk about is that we are emotional beings. We feel deeply. Sometimes, I don't know if you have ever been so angry that you have cried because you're so angry, or so frustrated that you cry. Especially kids, you see it with them. They can't open a bottle, or something's too hard for them and they cry, right? And so it's the sum of the emotions that are going on. When you feel pain, you cry. It's the sum of everything going on in your body that gets released out of that one tear, or those tears that come out of your eyes. Now, when that tear gets released from your body, you can never ever take it and put it back in you. It's gone. It's lost forever. Which is why it's so important to God. It's seen as a trade. It's seen as a form of intercession. So I remember we used to live in Ireland a number of years ago. In 2000, we actually moved to Ireland, and we lived here for a little while. And because of circumstances in Ireland, September the 11th happened in America, and it affected the Irish economy. And so we had to leave. And I was gutted. I was devastated that we had to leave Ireland and go back to South Africa. And I was praying, and I said to the Lord, why did you bring us here for a year and a half only to send us home? I don't believe we finished what you called us to do here. And he made me a promise, and I'm going off track now, but he made me a promise, and he said, by the time you are 50 years old, you will be back here in Ireland. I was 29 at the time. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, that is a freaking lifetime away, waiting for 50. Anyway, long story short, but before I turned 50, it was 9 months before my 50th birthday, we got back into Ireland, where we currently are living. But Ireland holds such a special place in my heart. And when we left Ireland, I couldn't listen to Irish music. I couldn't talk about the place, because just talking about it, that heartbreak of having to leave would just overwhelm me. And I remember bringing a tour group back to Ireland. I think we had been gone for about 6 or 7 years, and we brought our first tour group back to Ireland. I cried on the plane from Chicago into Dublin the whole way. You couldn't say Ireland and I would be crying. We got here and we would start walking around different places, and I would just be so, I mean, why? I would just be crying. I would be sobbing as we would go to these different places. And we were going to go up Skellig Michael. It's a mountain in the middle of the sea. It's where the monks used to go. There's beehives on the top of it. And we were going to go over there. And my husband said, guys, he said to the group, I feel that we have to bring a trade to trade with heaven. So whatever is important to you, and it doesn't have to be a physical thing. It can just be anything that is important to you, whether it's thanksgiving or praise or whatever it is. Prepare a sacrifice to bring, to offer God. And the best thing that I knew what to bring was my tears. I'm sure there are bottles and bottles and bottles of my tears for Ireland. It's a form of intercession. So we brought that in and we began to trade it. So, we got to understand that when we release those tears, we are, because the word says that then the enemy was turned back. When you release those tears, it releases God to do something to turn the enemy back, whether it's on your own behalf or whether it's on behalf of somebody else. Little boys and men are told, men don't cry, little boys don't cry. So they develop this hard exterior and they shut down those emotions that they're supposed to feel. I'm convinced personally that they're being robbed of their opportunity to heal, they're being robbed of their opportunity to turn the enemy back, and they are being robbed of the opportunity to use their tears as intercessions for others. So that concludes today's session. I thank you for tuning into this Eternal Echoes segment on our YouTube channel. Again, I'm Samantha Mahoney. If you have enjoyed what you've watched, please would you like, subscribe, and share so that you can get more content like this. Until next time, stay inspired and keep your light shining. Shalom.